Indra. Mandalam 1, Suktam 5. Rishi Madhuchandas Vaishwamitra. Devata Indra. Chandas Gayatri. Mandalam 1, Suktam 5, Rik 1.
आत्मेदानिषीदतेन्द्रमभिप्रगायत सखायस्तोमवाहसः.
Friends, surely do come near, do sit down, and now do sing upon Indra repeatedly. Eulogium offerers. Varied expressions of truth, from subtle to gross. The atmosphere around the earth is what sustains life upon it. It is constantly subject to disturbances of various kinds. Though the fundamental stuff of the atmosphere is the same as what it is anywhere else in the universe, it has been a long metamorphic journey along paths both common and unique for Earth's atmosphere to evolve into what it is now. An accompanying regulatory mechanism has also walked that long path, nurturing its protege by universal standards as applicable to the compositional and evolutionary peculiarities of the Earth. Its protege, in turn, has made it possible for life as we know it to thrive within its confines. Personification of the regulatory contrivance that maintains a dynamic equilibrium amongst its active components is Indra. It stands to reason that this contrivance, whether personified or not, should be eulogized, for without it no life can survive and thrive. Indra can also be imagined as the essence of the 5 fundamental principles named space, forces of movement, energy, fluid, and gross matter that is said to constitute material creation. For easy understanding, the most familiar phenomenon by human reckoning of that particular class of subtlety or grossness is associated with the 5 principles, namely sky, wind, fire, water, and earth, respectively. These principles contribute their respective mights according to their traits to keep nature in balance. Indra was at work in the separation of these 5 too from the unitary principle and the order in which it was done. Space is said to have been the first to separate by cosmic inflation, followed by the forces of attraction, repulsion, and movement. Then appeared energy, initiating activities of every genre. From such energy-induced activity was formed semi-gross substances that could flow like water and diffuse like gases. And finally, gross matter that couldn't, earth. Indra, therefore, has been a witness and an active participant in every existential activity. Mandalam 1, Suktam 5, Rik 2.
सुतपाम्ने सुताजिमे सुचायोयन्ति वीतये सोमासो दध्याशिरः.
These pure Soma libations come to drinker of Soma for invigoration, Soma mixed with curd. Valiant Soma and malevolent free radicals. Free radical concentration in the atmosphere is a measure of its ability to maintain its dynamic equilibrium and hence aid life upon Earth to lead a healthy existence. Ingredients of the juice of the Soma plant are said to have the ability to neutralize free radicals, which could be the reason why this juice was both consumed and offered as an oblation, making it to spread in the atmosphere and assist its corrective mechanism in stabilizing itself. In the atmospheric layers, closer to the Earth's surface, harmful bacterial concentrations abound. These too are neutralized to the extent necessary by the chemicals present in the juice of the soma and perhaps plants of other species as well. According to Ayurvedic texts, when consumed internally, it acts as a cardiac tonic, causes cell and tissue rejuvenation, is used for treating asthma and chronic respiratory disorders, emaciation, and dehydration. It can be supposed that if the therapeutic properties of soma are effective on one system of life, humans, they should be so for many other life forms too, if not all. It is perhaps this world view of the well-being of all that promotes the widespread use of soma extracts in Vedic rituals. The real sacrifice here is by the soma plant, which sacrifices itself for others. No wonder that it is venerated and extolled so greatly in Vedic texts. This verse goes on to say that Indra himself is in the soma extracts and provides it with the potency ascribed to it. Mandalam 1, Suktam 5, Rik 3.
सखा नो योगा भूवत्सराये सपुरं विद्याम् गमद्वाजेभिरासनाः
He indeed becomes united to us. He for wealth, he truly for abundant thought. He does come verily with fullness and measure to us. Indra's benign bestowals. This verse reiterates and emphasizes the comprehensive and all-inclusive role of the regulatory aspect of the atmosphere, both within and without, with reference to the material bodies that we recognize as being ourselves in the existence of all life forms. We are indeed beholden to it, or if preferred, to the King of Gods, Indra, for everything that we experience. His bounties, too, are as comprehensive. Knowledge of existence and the beyond from reflection, food and material wealth from a stable and balanced nature's munificence, the resulting freedom and fortitude to face and overcome the vagaries of life, and the understanding of the meaning and purpose of being and becoming are his bestowals. He is surely united with us in every deed and in every thought, with or without our acknowledgement. The phrase fullness and measure perhaps needs to be qualified with a caveat that bestowals are subject to karmic consequences or adherence to the script of existence. Mandalam 1, Suktam 5, Rik 4.
यस्य संस्थेन वृण्वते हरिः समत्सु सत्रवः तस्मादिन्द्राय गायत.
A pair of steeds, of which in togetherness enemies in conflicts not oppose, do sing for him thus to Indra. Sight and sound, universal negotiators. Truth is presented in the verses of Vedas in a manner that instills a sense of emotional inclusiveness and makes one vividly experience, albeit in their imagination, the processes happening in the realm of activity being discussed. Perhaps it also discourages them to think in terms of exploiting nature beyond what is good for it and as a consequence for themselves, a course that will be self-defeating. Here, Indra, the regulatory mechanism of the atmosphere, is lauded for his ceaseless efforts in capably managing his domain and keeping the ever-present forces that derail equilibrium within complacent levels. The two steeds of Indra are figuratively said to represent his perception through sight, involving electromagnetic vibrations, and hearing, material vibrations. In a sense, this points to the Vedic understanding that all transactional activities and the communications involved in them happen through vibrations of these two kinds. This indeed is science, packaged and wrapped in imaginatively descriptive vocalizations. Mandalam 1, Suktam 5, Rik 5.
सुतपाम्ने सुताजिमे सुचा योजन्ति वीतये सोमासो दध्याशिरः.
These pure soma extracts come to drinker of soma for invigoration, soma mixed with curd. Simplicity and profoundness of Vedic techniques. Repetitive mention of an activity is both an assertion of its effectiveness in the quick and satisfactory accomplishment of the task and focus, and also its significance. This is exemplified by the mention of offering of libations frequently across hymns of the Vedas. As any competent regulatory system can be termed Indra, the material bodies of living beings and the earth itself with its atmosphere in the present context are regulated by Indra, and the drinker of libations in both instances, whether consumed by an individual or poured into the fire as an oblation, is Indra, along with his personified retinue of gods. Interestingly, in Natya Shastra or regulations of dancing, Indra is the chief regulator of the dance floor, Natya Rangam, which can be a metaphor for the universe, the actors in it being the activities of existence, all regulated by Indra again. Living up to his exalted designation as the king of gods, Indra operates at all levels, from the subatomic to the supragalactic, as well as at the mystical levels. The mention of soma mixed with curd must have a therapeutic connotation too. One thing must be said about Vedic sacrificial technology that is surely to its credit. It is that the technology is simple and adheres to the principle of making it as eco-friendly as possible, uses simple inputs and simple techniques that give widely pervasive and comprehensive effects across multiple related systems. The fashioning of such technology also requires a good understanding about the forces of nature, the laws that govern them, and their situational idiosyncrasies, all of which appears to have been possessed by the seers who established it, as seers or scientists of the current era do under different guiding parameters. Mandalam 1, Suktam 5, Rik 6.
त्वम् सुतस्य पीतये सद्यो वृद्धो अजायथाः इन्द्रज्येष्ठ्याय सुक्रतो.
You grow stronger immediately having drunk of soma libations. Indra, you were transformed for preeminence, efficient in thought and deed. Agnihotram, a simple sacrifice for healthy living and inclusive thinking. The statement in this verse asserting that Indra grows stronger immediately upon partaking of the Soma libation is borne out by a research paper published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology, which reveals that the concentration of a range of bacteria and other chemicals harmful to flora and fauna in general in the proximity of the libation offering into fire was brought down to the extent of 94% and remained so for more than 24 hours. As it is to be expected, this reduction in bacterial concentrations was inversely proportional to the distance from the fumigation source. Its reasonable effectiveness persisted for several days following the fumigation. Several other herbal ingredients that aid and enhance the disinfecting process of the atmosphere are offered into the fire too, which can be classified into 4 groups: odorants, general health enhancers, medicinal herbs, and sweeteners. The ritual of Agnihotram is mandated for every household in the Sanatani way of life and is to be performed every day. It is a great example of simple technology for common use for healthy living and inclusive thinking. It is a single person executed pocketbook size version of the more elaborate yajna procedures. A host of Indras are simultaneously addressed and focused upon with this exercise for invigoration that is meant to aid them maintain order and equilibrium in their respective domains. Mandalam 1, Suktam 5, Rik 7.
आत्वा विशन्त्वासवः सोमास इन्द्रगिर्वणः सन्ते सन्तु प्रचेतसे
Let enter verily agile Somas Indra into you, who delights in invoking sounds. Let there be peace for consciousness. Language as vibrational reflections of activities and objects. The universe is pervaded by activities, beginning at a point in time and ending at another, and each activity is composed of a zillion other smaller sub-activities arranged sequentially along innumerable parallel paths. Every sub-activity being unique, considering the context, sequential position, and other such parameters. An object, then, is a snapshot of all related activities at a given instant and is ephemeral. An activity's uniqueness is the vibration that it constantly emanates, some audible to the human ear, others that can be normalized to auditory frequencies. This is perhaps the basis of languages, and in particular Sanskritam, which is said to employ the naturally occurring frequencies associated with processes, activities, and objects for describing and addressing or referring to them. This is the underlying factor for asserting that invoking Indra with hymns or mantras ensures that the libations are carried directly to the intended recipient, secures the objective of libations, enhancing the recipient's competence, dexterity, and reasoning ability, and awakens and elevates the recipient's consciousness. The mantras with proper pronunciations and intonations are as essential to the efficaciousness of the process as the material libations are. Mandalam 1, Suktam 5, Rik 8.
वां स्तोमा अविवृधन् त्वा मुक्ता शतक्रतो वां वर्धन्तु नो गिराः
Libations strengthen you, acknowledgements you, doer of actions multitude. Let our invocations magnify you for us. Aesthetics and functionality in mantra chanting. This verse replicates the notions of the preceding one, emphasizing what has been mentioned there about the mantra, its pronunciation, and its intonations, enhancing the effects of the ingredients of the libations. It'll perhaps be appropriate to dwell briefly on the manner in which the undulating rhythms of the mantra rendition is established. There is a protocol for this exercise, and three notes of an octave, the lowest, the middle, and the highest, figure in the scheme. Certain letters by nature or according to their location from the beginning of a mantra are assigned the lowest note of the octave. Proceeding along the progression of letters from this starting point, the first to have a long vowel associated with it is assigned the highest note of the octave. Those between the preceding lowest note and this one are assigned the middle note on the musical scale. The letters following the highest note revert back to the middle note. This is the basic scheme, but it is peppered with many other nuances. It is a technique analogous to the manner in which moods expressed in the lyrics are associated with certain notes and style of its musical rendition. In speech, a word of joy rendered in a mournful tone reduces or even invalidates the intent, meaning, and cogency of its articulation. However, aesthetics dominates musical delivery. General speech balances aesthetics and functionality, while functionality is preeminent in mantra chanting. Mandalam 1, Suktam 5, Rik 9.
रक्षीतो तिस्तने दिवम् वाजमिन्द्रः सहस्रिणम् यस्मिन् विश्वा स्यात्
Indra, unfailing protector, do obtain this thousandfold plenitude in which there are all masculine divinities. Abstraction corporeality, and gender. There is no stable system without an inherent regulatory mechanism, for its dearth would either induce decay or overactivity, leading to chaos and destruction. The universe has a very strong and perceivable fractal characteristic, with systems at different levels of manifestation having similar features or having features that lend themselves to a strong correlation with those of others. Again, being a stable system at the universal level, its fractal nature will make all its subsystems, however big or small, equally stable. This points to the notional presence of an avatar of Indra, the unfailing regulator, everywhere. The mention of masculine properties has to do much more than with the idea of men and women divided in the human realm based on the physical characteristics of their respective genders. The personification of the creator is masculine, and that of creation is feminine. All other activities and objects down the hierarchy are designated masculine, feminine, or neuter gender depending on the role they play. The mention of masculine properties in this verse is based on this system of division. Physical gender characteristics is also part of it, but an activity or object that has more masculine traits, subtle, gross, or anything in between, normalized to a standard measure, is deemed to be masculine. This appears to be essentially a distinction between abstractions and corporeality. Masculinity is inclined to abstractions, while femininity is prone to corporeality. Mandalam 1, Suktam 5, Rik 10.
मानो मर्ता अभिद्रोहन् तनूनामिन्द्रगिर्वणः ईशानो यवयावधम्.
Let not mortals bear malice to our identities. Indra, who delights in invoking sounds. Ruler, do keep away destruction. Vedic strategy to cope with inevitable change. At first glance, this verse appears to be an exercise in meekness, praying to Indra for protection against enemies of the humankind from harming their identities. Though Indra is the personification of regulatory mechanisms in all systems, he cannot wield weapons and fight against human attackers unless this can be imagined to happen miraculously on occasion. Not only do miracles not happen all the time, but they are termed so due to the observer's ignorance about the dynamics of the happening. But this scenario can have another viewpoint, which is perhaps more appropriate. Equilibrium in any system is sought for the sole purpose of maintaining situations as we have been used to, or at least bringing about change in an orderly manner for us to have time and ability to adjust to new norms. This must be the thing that is sought from the Indra regulating the system that makes up our environment, and the Indra within us who regulates our body system upon the recognition that change is inevitable. There is also the realization that it is incumbent upon mortals too to ensure that their activities are eco-friendly and does not compound problems to levels where Indra has to take drastic actions that ultimately affect us adversely. This is the Vedic strategy to tackle change in a manner that we ably can. It is not an exercise in cowardliness or abject surrender to circumstances, but one of inclusive resolution and dignified acceptance for the macrocosmic well being. And as before, we fortify all the Indras we invoke, or the one who represents all of them, with our intent, libations, and mantra chanting.